a parochial silliness. Whatever malevolence lived in the age-old slur she had heard, none of it lived in her. So I was tentative starting this project with Millie because I could see no way in. There was no clear connection between Millie and me that would make such a project viable. If I had experienced nothing of real anti-Semitism, nothing of true hardship, nothing of danger or the kind of dread that keeps you awake and trembling in your bed at night, how was I to understand Millie, who was forged in these things, who was made by them, and still lives them? How was I to understand the experience of what she would tell me, the feeling of her experience? Nonetheless, we decided to try. We agreed that I would visit Millie regularly in her home, an elegantly appointed ranch on suburban Long Island. "Where shall we begin?" I asked the first time. And without further prompting, the stories came pouring out. Like a dam undone, a torrent of stories, jumbled together, all intermixed. One ran readily into the next, the contours wholly unclear. After holding back for so long, it seemed, Millie wanted to tell everything. Something had been unleashed, and it was running, not wildly, not chaotically exactly, but with such profusion it was difficult to sort. I was lost in the surge, and Millie was too, I know. Our first session lasted 4 hours. Many hundreds more together followed. At first, our meetings were somewhat formal. The interviews were question and answer sessions. I reviewed the material from each session and returned to her with more questions, clarifying dates, pressing her for details, ensuring I understood to whom all the pronouns referred. Reconstructing the basic chronology proved relatively easy. The incidents lay on the surface of memory, but Millie's inner life was harder to find. Millie told me many of her stories multiple times. Often they seemed almost canonical in her telling, the words of the story recited nearly verbatim. It was as if her stories had crystallized, had become fixed in her memory, in very specific terms. The telling was often difficult. We always sat with a box of tissues between us. But somehow, too, the immutable form of the stories seemed to work like an emotional buffer, providing some small measure of protection from the unformulated feelings beneath. Millie didn't always have ready access to these feelings, yet it was precisely these that I most wanted to know, that I most needed to know if I were to know her and give voice to the unarticulated reaches of her inner life. To reach inward, I realized, much would be required of us both. We needed time for Millie to tell and retell her stories. We needed honesty and candor, too, and a growing mutual trust. Above all, we needed to believe that somehow it would be possible, despite our differences, truly to know and be known by the other. And for that, we needed love. I decided to step back and let Millie speak without much direction from me. I asked open, broad-based questions. What was on her mind that day? What had she been thinking about as she waited for me to arrive? What drifted through her thoughts as she lay in bed the night before? I didn't want to rush her. I wanted to let her mind go wherever it willed. And slowly, I began to figure out the patterns underlying the associations of her memory, the emotional keystones that structure her experience of the world. We soon started to see each other quite frequently, some days devoted to interviews, some devoted to fun. We found ourselves becoming friends, a Holocaust survivor in her early 80s, a suburban New Yorker touching 50. We'd go to Lord & Taylor's, one of Millie's favorite places, and we'd survey the recent arrivals, assessing the season's styles of cut and color. We'd stroll arm in arm through the departments, dresses, sportswear, accessories, and then take the elevator to the third-floor restaurant and eat grilled vegetable sandwiches